Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. First of all, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has supported my first video, those who have liked and commented and subscribed. To those of you who have sent me private messages as well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Also, I want to apologise for the lack of volume in my first video. I didn't actually realise the volume was that low until I watched it back on TV, so really sorry about that, but fingers crossed I get it right. This video will be all about fibroids, what they are, what the symptoms are, what possibly causes them, how we can treat them, and basically my experience with fibroids. You know, I'm trying to hopefully give some insight into what I've been through, what I'm currently going through, and the treatment option that I'm going for. So fibroids are tumours that grow within or around the uterus. They're non-cancerous, but they can be in extreme pain. So it is said that 1 in 3 women will develop fibroids in their lifetime, but you are more likely to develop fibroids and experience symptoms if you are a black woman. Now, this is not something that would be mentioned at your doctor's appointment. However, I do have my own theories as to why black women are more likely to suffer from fibroids. You know, there are a lot of foods that cause inflammation within our bodies. You know, we do eat a lot of sugar, a lot of salt, a lot of processed meat, and those can all contribute to having a hormone imbalance. And like I said, fibroids are hormone based. So if you have an overgrowth or an overproduction of estrogen, then you are most likely to develop fibroids. Now, one theory that I have seen come up quite a lot is contraception. Now, when you do take contraception, you are pumping your body with more hormones. So whether you're on the pill, you're on the implant, the coil, that can also contribute to the development of fibroids, because basically you're giving your body a lot more hormones than you actually need, and that can cause a hormone imbalance. Now, I don't know how credible this is, but I have seen online that basically any hair chemicals that go in your hair can also contribute to the growth of fibroids. So that can include hair dye, hair relaxers, hair perms, anything that's chemical that goes in your hair, that is said to also cause a hormone imbalance, to also cause fibroids, cysts and other growths within your body. There are a lot of theories as to what causes fibroids, but I would say it's definitely worth doing your own research, speaking to your doctor, you know, asking all the right questions, and just listening to your body. You know, not enough of us, especially black women, you know, we do not always take our own symptoms seriously, you know, and that could be due to the fact that we don't get taken seriously at our doctor's appointment. So that's fair enough. But when you know that something isn't right or something is completely different, listen to your body, go to the doctors, ask for a second opinion, because it could be worth your entire reproductive system. There are many symptoms that you do need to look out for. This includes pain and discomfort during sex, abdominal pain, excessive bleeding, that's another one. There's lower back pain, there's the need to constantly urinate. There's so many different symptoms, and I just believe that you really need to pay attention to your body. You know, white women are actually more likely to go to the gynecologist or to have their smear tests or to go to the doctors if they're concerned. And I think that itself is concerning. You know, we need to take ourselves seriously, and I can understand that with our own experiences, we haven't been taken seriously before, and we therefore feel the need to stay at home and just deal with our own pain. But that's not the way forward, ladies. Like, we need to really push ourselves and push these doctors to find out what is wrong with us and to give us treatment, you know, because the last thing you want is to sit on an issue and then end up in a worse situation than you were before, because years later you will be told, oh, this could have been prevented, or, you know, this has only developed over the course of X amount of years. And you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that, you know, you were told before that something was wrong and you didn't take it seriously, or you felt like something was wrong and the doctors didn't take you seriously. So do everything you can. As I mentioned in my last video, we need to start shouting, we need to start making noise and making them realize that, you know, black women do not have a higher tolerance of pain, or we can handle ourselves a lot more than white women. No, we need to be seen and heard just as loudly as other women. You know, our lives matter, our lives are important, and our fertility, our reproductive health, our health in general. It's important. So please, women, if you feel like there is something wrong, don't ignore yourself. Do not ignore your body, because yeah, there's a possible chance that nothing's wrong, but it's worth finding out the right information. It's worth getting the help that you need, and it's worth doing the work. My own experience with fibroids, I was actually diagnosed when I was about 10 weeks pregnant with Ray, and I was in excruciating pain. It wasn't normal for me, and obviously when you're pregnant, you don't want to take any risks. So I walked myself to A&E. I was there for about 5 hours before I was actually seen, and when I was eventually seen, the doctor on duty, here she goes. Hold that thought, guys. Ray knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, so the doctor at A&E, he couldn't believe that I was 10 weeks pregnant. You know, he was quite surprised that I was already showing, and he had his own theories as to what was wrong with me, and he mentioned the word fibroids. So he called the department that he wanted to send me to. I forgot the name of the department, but it was basically to go and get an ultrasound. And whilst he was on the phone, he was like, yeah, and she is black. And I was looking at him like, excuse you, like, what has the colour of my skin got to do with anything? But, you know, I didn't question him at the time because I was just in so much pain. But on my way to that other department, I was going through my phone, I was typing fibroids, black women, and it did come up, you know, what fibroids were and how it affects black women more than white women. So yeah, that was the first encounter I had with fibroids. That was the first time I had even really heard of it. I think the other time I heard of it was in a TV show. I think it was Real Housewives of Atlanta. That was the only time I actually heard of it, but I didn't go to now research it or anything. But because it was happening to me, I had to make sure I knew what was going on before I actually got to the place where I was having my ultrasound. When I got there now, I did do an ultrasound, and I could see Zoe on the screen. She wasn't anything more than like a little blob, but you know, I was just so happy. I'm like, oh my God, there's a baby in there. But yeah, and then they confirmed that I did have. At that time, I was told that my fibroids weren't much of a concern. They weren't seen as problematic, and I only had 2. So therefore, I was told that I needed to wait for my dating scan, which was only 2 weeks later, and then wait to be told, you know, what to do. So at least I knew what the cause of the pain was, which was the fibroids, but they weren't causing much of a problem, and my baby was fine. So at my 12-week scan, I was actually told that I had 3 fibroids, and they were quite large in size. Now, I don't know whether within the 2 weeks that my fibroids suddenly grew and I developed another one, or if they missed that at the first scan when I was in A&E. But I do know that they were quite concerned, and they decided to now, they booked me in for a lot more scans. So when you're pregnant, you have about 3 scans, 2 or 3 scans. So you have the 12-week scan, which is the dating scan. You have the 20-week scan, that's when you find out the sex of your baby. And you have one just before you're due to give birth. But for me, I had to have one around every 3 to 4 weeks, just to make sure that I was okay, the baby was growing okay, and the state of the fibroid. Now, throughout the course of my pregnancy, I was in excruciating pain. Like, I would not actually spend a full week at work without having to go to the hospital. You know, my hubby, he basically had to take me hospital quite a few times. I remember one time we went to the hospital and he was making so much noise because they were taking too long to see me. You know, I was just there crying, I was on the floor. It was a lot. And in the end, Zoe was fine, but what they said was happening was fibroid degeneration, and that's when your fibroids start to die. However, they grow back again because of the blood supply and basically my hormones, they bring them back to life. And there was absolutely no way that they'd be able to operate because I was pregnant. I was also told that once I give birth, they will most likely disappear. Didn't happen. So at 33 weeks, my waters broke. The scariest shit ever. I will do another video on my birth story. But the day that she came out, I was actually told that my cervix was about to rupture, and that was due to the fact that I was in labour, in active labour, but no one was taking me seriously. Like I said, I'll do another video on my birth story. It's very traumatic. But in regards to the fibroids, they had to be extremely careful in my C-section. They had to be careful where they were going to cut, because where they did cut, my fibroids were literally all clumped together. So they did a pretty good job, actually. And it was so quick as well. Like within 5 minutes of us being in the surgery room, she was out. And she was healthy, thank God. It was just the best news ever. But yeah, during my recovery, I was told that my fibroids would either disappear on their own, or later on I would have to get surgery to remove them. Not long after I had given birth, about a few weeks after, the pandemic hit. So I was actually extremely grateful that Zareh was born before her due date, because her due date was during the pandemic. And around that time, a lot of women were being told they could not have their partners with them when they were giving birth. And I cannot imagine what that felt like. And I'm really grateful that, you know, my hubby was there with me. Family and friends were able to come and visit whilst we were in hospital. What I will say though, is that I wasn't checked after I gave birth. So I had a visit from the health visitor. She came to see us. That was a few days after we'd been discharged from hospital. But after that, I didn't hear from anyone ever again. No one checked my scar. No one checked, you know, my well-being at all. So I was just kind of waiting, you know, to be told that I'm able to come into hospital and find out the status of my fibroids. Nothing happened. And it was around summertime this year when I started experiencing pain again. And these pains felt a little bit different. They weren't like the pains that I had before. These felt like contractions, like I was actually giving birth again. So I booked a GP appointment, and the GP, he wasn't really happy with how my stomach felt. He basically said that my womb felt like it was in the wrong place. So as a matter of emergency, he did refer me to have an ultrasound at the hospital. When I had the ultrasound, you don't get your results there and then, they send it back to your GP. My GP now called me and said that I have a large number of fibroids. I knew that already, but I also have a cyst that they're quite concerned with. So he then referred me to a gynecologist. Now, when I spoke to the gynecologist at the hospital, she let me know that I had an ovarian cyst that was around 10 centimeters, which is quite large. And obviously I had all the fibroids. They hadn't disappeared, you know. I was told that after I gave birth, they would most likely disappear. However, according to the gynecologist, I had developed quite a few more, plus the ovarian cyst. But she was quite concerned at the fact that this wasn't spotted while I was pregnant or whilst they were doing the C-section, because it's quite uncommon, it's quite rare for a cyst that large to develop over the course of 6 months. At the time I'd given birth, I was post 6 months. I was post, you know what I mean. I'd given birth 6 months prior to that. Sorry guys, I'm losing my train of thought. It's really hard to talk. But yeah, so I've lost it again. Yeah, so she basically said that I would need to have surgery, and there was no other option, because when it comes to ovarian cysts, when they're that large, they don't tend to disappear on their own. And the last thing that I wanted, or that she wanted, was that they would have to remove my ovary. Yeah, try not to cry. Now, myomectomy is basically, it's like a C-section, but it's based on fibroids. So they will cut me where I've already been cut for my C-section, but probably a little bit longer. And they will remove all of the fibroids and the ovarian cyst whilst trying to preserve my ovary and my uterus. Fingers crossed, everything goes well. It's quite a scary thought, because in my C-section I was awake, you know, me and my hubby, he was holding my hand and we were talking, and then my daughter was born. But this time I'm not in control at all. I will be put to sleep, and I will most likely be in the worst pain. it's just scary, you know. You don't really ever want to hear that you're going to be going under the knife for anything, and I am gutted that I could never have avoided this earlier or done anything to prevent the growth of the fibroids, but I am grateful that they will be removed. As I mentioned in my previous video, I haven't been away from baby girl since she was born, so this will be quite stressful for me, you know. I have social separation anxiety, so yeah, it is difficult, but you know what, I'm just grateful that they were able to give me this diagnosis as quickly as they did, and they were able to offer me a solution. You know, I've seen quite a few stories where women are having to live with their fibroids and cysts for years before they get taken seriously, before any kind of treatment is offered. So yeah, in that respect, I'm grateful. So yeah, my procedure is called a myomectomy, and I will be having that next week. I will try my best to document the surgery. Obviously, I won't be filming whilst I'm in surgery, I'll be asleep, but I will let you guys know how I get on. Another treatment option is a hysterectomy, and that is the complete removal of your reproductive system. So they remove your ovaries, your fallopian tube, and your uterus. This is usually a last resort treatment, and it's usually older women who ask to have this treatment option because they've maybe had their own children already, or they just don't want to have to experience having another surgery to remove fibroids again. So they go and get a hysterectomy. I'm really glad that that wasn't suggested to me. I'm hoping, and they're hoping, that they won't have to remove my uterus in the process. In the occasion where they obviously have to save my life, if there's any internal bleeding and whatnot, then that will be the case. And for some women, that is the case, and it's quite sad. But yeah, it is usually to be avoided until the very last minute. Sorry guys, I'm getting a little bit emotional because just the thought of going under the knife and taking out your reproductive system as a woman, you can just imagine how that feels, you know, to be told that you may never have children or never have any more children if you've got children already. It's heartbreaking. It's really, really heartbreaking. So yeah. Another option is called keyhole surgery. There's a medical term for it, but I've completely forgotten. And that's basically where they make an incision through, I think it's your belly button, and they remove the fibroids through there. And this is usually suggested when you have like 1 or 2 fibroids, or they're not very large, but they are causing problems, you know, to do with you trying to get pregnant, or they're causing a lot of pain. You know, there are so many different options for the removal of fibroids, but I would suggest before you take what you're given, make sure you do your research, make sure you find out the pros and cons of each option, and you know, weigh out the options, weigh out what you believe is right for you, make that suggestion to your doctor, have that conversation, and then ultimately make that decision. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope that I was able to give a little bit of insight into what fibroids are, what the symptoms are, what to look out for, and how to just basically take care of you. You know, being pregnant and having fibroids really was not easy. Obviously, I didn't know that I had fibroids until I got pregnant, so I don't know whether they developed throughout the pregnancy or they were there before. Either way, you know, I'm trying to make lifestyle changes now in regards to the food that I eat. You know, contraception, I've completely banished that. I am no longer on contraception. If I breed, I breed. If I have another baby, so be it, you know. But at the end of the day, no, I'm not gonna put my body through any more of those hormone pumping pills and whatnot. What are you doing? Sorry, Zaray's on one again. So I'm trying to eat a lot better. I'm trying to stay away from anything that can cause a hormone imbalance, and obviously my surgery is next week, so I will keep you guys updated. But if you have any questions, you know, just send me a message and I will get back to you. But thank you guys, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.